According to Galactic Law Section 7, Article 3 Din, you are required to have a wife, and I have been assigned to you.
I'm sorry, Sal, what did you just say?
The desert had a way of making a man feel small. Sergeant Marcus Hale had survived 3 tours, 2 ambushes, and 1 very bad year. But nothing, not a single moment in his 32 years of living, had prepared him for the morning he stepped outside his desert base camp and nearly crushed something the size of a coffee mug beneath his boot. He froze. He looked down. Staring up at him from the cracked, sun-baked earth was a girl, no taller than his forearm, with pale silver skin, enormous dark violet eyes, and 2 tiny pointed ears that caught the desert wind like leaves. She wore a miniature suit of something that shimmered like liquid metal, and her dark hair floated around her head as if she were permanently underwater. She crossed her arms and looked at him with the expression of someone who had been waiting far too long. "You are Marcus Hale, serial number 4471 Delta, correct?" she said. Her voice was surprisingly clear and firm for someone the size of a soda bottle. Marcus blinked. "Yes."
"Good."
She pulled out a tiny scroll from somewhere on her suit and unrolled it with great ceremony. According to Galactic Law, Section 7, Article 3, all registered carbon-based sentient males on this planet are required by interplanetary treaty to be paired with a designated companion for the purposes of cross-species cultural integration. She looked up. "I have been assigned to you." A long silence followed. A hawk circled somewhere overhead. "I'm going to need you to say that again," Marcus said slowly. She sighed, the deeply exhausted sigh of someone explaining something obvious.
"You need
A wife. I am her. Congratulations." Marcus sat down on a nearby rock. Not because he chose to, but because his legs simply stopped working. Her name, she explained, was Ziwayan, shortened from a string of syllables that made his teeth hurt when she pronounced them fully. She was 23 in her planet's years, which translated to something close to his age by Earth standards, though she refused to confirm the math. She had been sent by the Galactic Integration Bureau, a bureaucratic organization so ancient and powerful that even her people's High Council did not argue with its paperwork. "Why me?" Marcus asked, staring at the tiny silver girl who had now climbed onto the rock beside him and was examining his dog tags with enormous interest. "You were randomly selected," Ziwayan said, not looking up. "You should feel honored. There were 40 million candidates." "I don't feel honored. I feel confused. Those feelings are not mutually exclusive." She was, Marcus quickly learned, extraordinarily logical, mildly arrogant, and completely unbothered by anything he said. When he told her he couldn't have a wife, alien or otherwise, because he was deployed, she produced another scroll explaining that deployment did not nullify Galactic Law. When he told her his commanding officer would never allow it, she produced what appeared to be an intergalactic diplomatic immunity certificate. When he told her she was the size of his hand, she looked at him with such withering calm that he immediately apologized without knowing why. She set up camp inside his jacket pocket. This was not his choice. She simply decided it was the most practical arrangement and moved in. She carried a microscopic pack that somehow contained a sleeping mat, a heating unit, a communication device, and what appeared to be a very small library. She was, in every possible way, completely self-sufficient, and yet she chose to stay near him with a possessiveness that was both baffling and oddly warming. The other soldiers didn't believe him at first. Then Corporal Davies nearly sat on her during breakfast, and she gave him a speech about spatial awareness that left him blinking for 10 full minutes. After that, the whole unit treated her with a careful, bewildered respect, the kind usually reserved for superior officers and very large dogs. Marcus tried, more than once, to contact the Galactic Integration Bureau to contest the assignment. Each time, Ziyan handed him a form. Each form led to another form. Each appeal required documentation that required authorization that required a stamp from a council that met once every 40 years. It was, he realized, a bureaucratic system specifically designed to be impossible to exit. "You did this on purpose," he told her one evening, sitting outside the camp while the stars appeared one by one above the desert. Ziyan was perched on his knee, looking up at the sky with an expression he was starting to recognize as homesickness. "The Bureau does not make errors," she said simply. "That's not an answer." She was quiet for a moment. Then, very quietly, "My planet is gone. The Bureau assigns us to someone when we have no one left to return to."
She paused.
"I did not choose you because of a form, Marcus. I chose the form because of you. You were the only candidate who, when surveyed, listed making sure others are safe as his primary life goal." She tilted her tiny head. That seemed like someone worth staying near. The desert wind moved between them, warm and slow. Marcus looked down at this impossible, infuriating, fascinating creature sitting on his knee like she owned him, and felt something shift quietly in his chest, like a door opening that he'd forgotten was there. "You could have just asked," he said. "You would have said no." "Yeah," he admitted. "I probably would have." She nodded firmly, as if this confirmed everything. The Bureau was correct. You needed to be assigned. He laughed, a real one, the kind that surprised him. And Ziyan, for the very first time, smiled. It was small and careful, like she wasn't entirely sure it was allowed. But it was there. That night, Marcus Hale, sergeant, desert veteran, man who had survived everything the world had thrown at him, lay on his cot with a tiny silver alien asleep in his jacket pocket, her breathing soft as starlight. He stared at the ceiling of his tent. He thought about the paperwork. He thought about the forms, the scrolls, the intergalactic bureaucracy that had dropped this strange, brilliant, grieving little person into his life. And for the first time in a very long while, he thought that maybe, just maybe, the universe knew something he didn't. He closed his eyes. And for the first time in a very long while, he slept without dreaming of anything dark. Outside, the desert stretched on endlessly, and somewhere in the ink-black sky above, a small star that had no name blinked once, quietly, like it was watching over them both. And